This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. BioWare is inserting tactical items into the game in 6.0, and we're getting a first look of a handful of them for a couple of the classes, along with some new abilities and set bonuses. All of this is showing up in the forums. We're going to talk through that this episode. We're also going to talk about our plans for episode 300, which is coming up next week. It'll be on Tuesday, July 9th with a pre-show party at 8 Central on Starforge, and our recording is going to be a little bit earlier next week. It's going to be at 9 Central. So join in our AIE Discord, join on Twitch, join on Starforge Live. We'll post details this week of where it's going to be and how you can be a part of it. This broadcast aspect tonight is EPC 299. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I actually broke down today and put my I have a tiny little air conditioner I put in the window when it gets hot here. And I decided that it's hot now. So I did that. That's a very interesting weather update, isn't it?
It is.
Also, let's see, but within SWTOR related stuff, I am sticking to my plan for Summer of 300, getting my last three classes to command rank 300, sticking to my plan of doing CZ-198, Black Hole, and Yavin 4, which isn't, it isn't a lot of work. It's not difficult to do. So it's something I can do for the long haul. And yeah, it's working for me. So far, so good. And I do it on 2 characters each week. I do have a 3rd character that I need to work on, but she's a lot further along. That's my sage. She's almost done, actually. She's like at command rank 260 or something like that. And I'm sure she just needs to heal a couple of ops towards, whenever, and that'll be done. So that's going really well, and it's not stressing me out at all. It's just, when I get time, I can sit down and do CZ-198 on one character. It takes 10 minutes and, go on to the next thing. It doesn't have to be hours of SWTOR just to make my... Anyway, so you get my point. And we're recording on a Tuesday night this week. Actually, we've been doing Tuesday nights pretty regularly for a while now.
Yeah, what's with that?
I know. So we just finished MFN, and it being a Rackle week, we killed Eyeless. We were on the pub side this week, so we had we also had a good strong group of 15 or 16 people, so the Eyeless was actually no problem at all. And then we went out and we killed the world boss, the Rackle related world boss, which is called Toxin on Corellia, twice, because you get a lot of command XP for killing that world boss. You get the little purple CXP pack.
Mm-hmm. You loot it. Yeah, you loot it off of its corpse, which is worth a lot.
Yes.
In addition to the command points you get for killing it.
I was doing it on my commando, but I can send those packs off to my sentinel, which I did, or I'm going to do. But that was kind of good because we don't normally have the opportunity to do those world bosses, because usually they're camped because it's a Tuesday night when we do MFN. So we lucked out and we found him up on 2 instances. So that was cool. Last week in our ops team, LOL, we did Story Mode Queen on the imp side and then Story Mode Queen on the pub side. And then we went and did a quick group finder run of Explosive Conflict for conquest points. So that was a fun evening, just not very taxing. And we did a fast run through EC and it was fun. I also got the last crystal that I needed for my gear for my Merc. I technically don't have to do anything else on Osis. I can if I want to, though. Or if I decide I want to do my left side on my commando as well. So, I mean, I say the last piece of gear, I mean, not including weapons, but, the complete right side and then complete left side.
Which we're going to work on soon. Although probably not
this week.
Yes, we
are, because we're going to, we might do that this week because we're...
No, not this week because it's 4th
Well,
of
not
July.
this week because it's 4th of July, yes.
Dang it.
I mean, real life interfering again.
Although not even everybody celebrates 4th of July. on our team.
That's true.
We got the
That's
at
right.
least we always have at least one Canadian.
That's right. It's required.
Yes. So
So anyway, yeah, I've a lot going on for me in SWTOR this week. How about you, Max?
same thing. So Summer of 300. So if you didn't hear about it last week, our Summer of 300 is trying to get those classes to CXP 300. So there's all 4 base classes on each side, Republic and Imperial, for a total of 8, which is the achievement for Command rank 300 meta achievement across all 8 of those, which is going away in 6.0. So we're getting it.
That's why we're doing it. Yeah.
Because it's going to be gone, then that's where we're going to get it. They're going to move it to a place in the achievements, so it'll still sit there and it'll be very clear that you can't get it anymore. It'll be called a feat of strength. My strategy, which I continued this week, was to do Osis. So I've got 4 characters to get to CXP 300 because I've been focusing on other classes that are just repeats. So of those 4 characters, I took all of them through Osis 10. All of them killed the world bosses on Osis, and all of them did the Iocath weekly, which is 10 on Iocath. All of that I did on 2 days, 2 different days each. So I did 5 dailies one day, 5 dailies the next day. So sort of across 4 days, maybe 5 days, because I didn't do every character every day, and stretched out, and ended up this week with 134 command ranks then. So last week was 156. The week ending a week ago. The week ending yesterday was 134. I still have 527 total ranks to go, but even tonight I cycled in three of those characters on the Republic side because of our mandatory fun night on the Republic side this week, and racked up a whole bunch of command ranks. So
look at those numbers. You're already almost to 200 on 3 of them.
Right. In fact, I'm pretty sure I got into the upper 190s on 2 of them tonight. It still feels like a long way away. I mean, I've done
It isn't though.
Since in the last 2 weeks, I've done almost 300 command ranks. So I feel like one of the characters should be done, but I know I'm not doing them that way, so that obviously doesn't make sense. But I feel like I should be closer, and the difference between 661, well, I guess it was almost 800. It was 800 as it started. Now it's down to 500, so that's plenty. Okay, so I should have put my starting one here.
If you look at those as being almost 200, you're basically 2/3 of the way done.
Yeah, right. True.
And we still have,
and I can relax.
12 weeks to go.
Yeah. So it will come faster than it seems. I know that, and I can relax. So I'm not. And I think Seema did the math for when she says the expansion's going to come out, which is October 7th, even though they projected the end of September. And I think I could be doing now I could probably be doing about 50 command ranks a week, between 50 and 60, and be fine. So even if this falls off a little bit, which it won't this week, it'll be high, but I'll be traveling a little bit next week. Got to stop by in Seattle for a little stuff out there. But that won't be too long. It's only a quick day trip, because then I got to be back for our episode 300. So we'll as we mentioned, that'll be going on next week. We'll talk about it one more time in our community area, but that's pretty much the deal of what's happening. So it'll be on Tuesday, July 9th. Be there. We'd love everybody to just be part of the pre-show party. Might do it in the Slippery Slopes Cantina in Nar Shaddaa. What do you think of that, Seema? I didn't run that by you yet. Go up on that balcony.
I like it because everyone can get there.
And get that classic balcony party going.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, all right. So look forward to that. There is a little bit of news, though, so why don't we talk about that too?
Yeah.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So rewind on the dev tracker to a little less than a week ago. Short thread somebody was having problems with a griefer. They were rolling a low level alt and somebody high level. I don't know why people do this. They want to duel you. Duel me, bro. And they're in there like on a level 50 character. Yes, they're character synced, but they've like got all of their abilities. Everything's unlocked. All of their gear and set bonuses and stuff like that. I'm not going to duel you. Plus, I'm trying to level up here. I'm trying to level an alt. And I guess this person kept getting, like doing duel over and over on this guy, and he complained a little bit on the forums. Eric chimed in. Nothing interesting besides, hey, yeah, block them, report them. We'll keep an eye on that kind of thing. But I thought it was nice to see Eric popping in across the forums. He must be spending a ton of time constantly because he's checking in on all of the bigger threads that they've got running for feedback and that kind of thing. But to be checking in on those smaller threads too, I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't get it at any level. Never mind the level. Why would you request a duel over and over and over again?
Right.
Other than to just bother somebody.
Right.
So anyway.
Right.
Another thread on the forums was about the ability to use dyes on white and green quality items, which I personally did not know this was a thing. I thought you could, and apparently you used to be able to, and at some point along the line, like a year ago, it stopped working. And the thread, the sort of sense of dismay from the thread was not only that it was not working, but that they didn't even know if it was an intended change or a bug.
Mm-hmm.
Because there hadn't been any response. And then Eric again jumped in, which I think is pretty brave to jump into a thread that's already like in tatters because people are angry and crying and everything. To say,
it's been going on for a while. I didn't see this giant red text that somebody put in their post.
Yeah, right. I mean, I give Eric. This is like Eric Love Night, I guess, but I give him credit for jumping into that thread because if I were Eric, I would be so tempted to just go, yeah, I'm not going there.
Or pass it along and not to mention it. But yeah, to put yourself in the line of fire. The other thing I thought was
which he does a lot.
Yeah, which he said he considers that part of his job, which is
he has said that before.
Pretty heroic.
Yeah.
I thought this is also interesting because most of this thread was role players, and they're the community that wants this weird, all the weird gear to make the very unique costumes and things to match the role that they want to play.
I think it's doing it a little bit disservice to say they're role players because I think that there's a big community of players who don't raid and who don't PvP. They're not necessarily role players in that they don't hang around in the bar and type out long sentences or have backstories or attend dance parties. But they care a lot about their characters. They play through the stories, they dress them up. And they care more about their characters and the look of their characters than we care about the things that we care about. Which I have respect for.
Yes, absolutely. But I think there was at least a little bit of it is the actual RP community from Starforge.
Yes.
That's mentioned in here too. Which, if you are interested in actual role play, Starforge is hot. It's always going. Get there go on the Imperial fleet. Go down into the little bar area down in the center of the fleet. There's always something going on there, and there's people putting effort into it. And
there's dance parties from different groups a couple of nights a week, every week.
So
on Starforge.
Check it out. Also up in the news, the schedule for in-game events that's happening in July, that's been refreshed and published. In addition to Nar Shaddaa continuing, the Rakghoul Resurgence event is going on, Bounty Contract Week is coming, Pirate Incursion event is coming back as well. There's a nice little blog post, an actual blog news post up that walks through each of those, so you can check it out. We were doing Rakghouls tonight. Have you been to the casino yet, Seema?
I'm procrastinating it.
So am I. I have not set foot in it. We kill these bosses. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but if everybody's noticed, some of us have noticed because we keep calling it out every time we get into a boss fight. But if you kill a boss in an operations fight, they'll drop a couple cartel slot machine coins. So how many do I have here on my Merc? Fleet commendations. Kingpin Casino chips 3. I've got 3. Wait, what is this down here? Oh, Smuggler Casino chip. Those are Kingpin. I've got 121 Smuggler and 3 Kingpin. Boy, the scroll bar is not scrolling all the way down. You see that? That's not
I did do like the entry thing where you get the quest from the news thing, and you fly out there and you get a few coins. And I have to agree though, it's a little bit. This is weird, but it's a little bit frustrating that you keep getting coins back. Because like if you say, okay, I'm going to play 50 or 100 coins and that's it, but it keeps going on and on and on because you get coins back.
and if you're really trying to get the Rhodian companion, then you really want that. You want to let it ride and keep it rolling. It's
because you want to get the Kingpin ones. Yeah.
It's more of a problem when you just want to be done. Like, you're about to log off. You just
want to get rid of the coins you have.
This happens to me all the time. All I need to do is concentrate on wishing I had more wishing I got some more coins back and could keep rolling, and then they would be all gone immediately. But when you want to log off and you just want them to be done, then it'll just go on forever. I did this today. In my stronghold. I still have in my stronghold, and I do this all the time. I have the decos, which give crafting mats. I collect, and I mostly am focused on right now.
Yes, that's the same thing exactly.
The archaeology ones, yes. And when I just really quick, I just want to click on it, get one, and be done. Today I did that, and I needed to go, and I was with my Merc, and I swear I got up to like 7 or 8 clicks. Which is,
it is a 20-second cast.
It's like, yeah, it is. It's a long cast, and the odds are nearly impossible to get up to like 8 of them. I had a stack of 40 each of those grade 2 mats that I'm collecting, which is great, except that's not what I just wanted to click and be done. So then at that point I'm like, wow, I'm up to like 7 or 8 casts. This is nearly a record, and bang, then it was over. Because then I started counting and started to think about how lucky it was. Instantly done. Luck streak over. So that's all you got to do. You just got to think about how lucky you are, and then it'll all be gone.
And while we're in this little section about events, I just want to say when Dantooine comes back, which is the pirate incursion event, that is great for Command XP. So that'll be fantastic for Summer of 300. And also, I like the clarification about when the events start and end. I don't know if they've always done this, but this is the first time I've noticed it. On every event, they put in caps, begins and ends at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So
thank you.
Because
every MMO needs to start doing that. Jeez, it's killing me.
Yes, because I did not realize that I had basically one more reset on Dantooine last time. I didn't log in that morning, and I have a bunch of quests that I could have finished. Well, I'll finish them next time, but anyway, thank you for that.
Right now there's like a million things going on in every major MMO. So, and I'm unfortunately doing them all. I'm doing dailies for rep in SWTOR and Mechacon for the WoW 8.2 release. The Star Trek Online Summer Ryza event started today, and you need to do like 25 days of that daily to get the tier 6 cruiser ship, which is really cool. ESO has their monthly rewards. You need to log in every day, and that one is on a really weird reset. That one kills me every time because the reset is 7 p.m. And some days I log in at 6, and some days I log in at 9, and or I log in the morning, and some days I log in the afternoon. I can log in like every day, every calendar day, 3 days in a row, and only get credit for one login. Because I'll have like missed the 7 p.m. to 7 p.m. window, and
right.
And then Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy has a new release that just went public today. I'm not even up to that release, so I don't need to worry about that. But they do have a weekly drawing for their cactpot. I don't know. It's cactuses in a casino. I don't know. It's a cactus themed casino. I don't understand. I'm not into all the Final Fantasy lore. Anyway, the cactpot drawing is something like 11 p.m. on Saturday night, and then since that's a once a week thing, I'm always wondering like, did I log in? Did I not log in? So thank you, BioWare. You're doing it right. Put the time in there. Every event, every reset should have that time. And then we need like a huge. We need some website to just go across every event, every reset of everything in every MMO. Just
You know
all the
how people who
resets.
take a lot of medications have those little boxes and they put the pills for
Yeah,
like times and days. We should have those for MMOs, and you have like your little character
we should.
in each one. You're like, yeah.
We should.
So you remember, oh, Friday night. Let's see. Oh, I need to log into Final Fantasy 14.
I bet I could get I bet I could ask my Amazon Echo friend over here and set up like all these different reminders.
I don't
We should,
know. That's pretty
I
complex.
should code up a skill. That's what I should do. Okay.
Oh man, you should.
Anyway,
I would buy that.
yeah, I'd buy that for $1. Guild news. In guild news, hey, from time to time in Elayak to S the Guild, we need to fill leadership positions. One of the sub guilds, which I didn't mention, which has its own set of dailies, although I don't think there's an event going on right now, is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings Online is a really cool game. It's very, just a handful of players still play it in AIE, but relatively loyal handful. And we've had a leader who's also been a leader in Star Wars running a mandatory fun night for Lord of the Rings for months now. And we said, hey, what we'd like to do is we'd like to elevate that. We'd like to double down. We have a summer week coming up of summer events. We'd like a little bit more leadership for Lord of the Rings, and we could potentially use this person's skill in Star Wars. So we said, let's open up this additional officer position. This job is available. We need somebody to do this job. And that person for us now is Melung Aeroshield. If you don't know Melung, he's been running our Wednesday night ops team. He's a co-leader for that Wednesday night team with Albus. He's been doing stuff in Star Wars for years now, helping lead various things, and doing a great job with that mandatory fun night in Lord of the Rings as well. So congrats.
And luckily for
Melung.
us, when
Thank you for
we
taking that on.
yeah, thank you for taking it on. Exactly. We're glad you said yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, as you can hear me describing it, it's a job. It's not the way we treat it in AIE is it's just extra jobs that we call on people to and ask people to do from time to time. It's not a reward rank. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You just have extra responsibilities.
In other guild news, we have a mega coming up on July 27th, where we are going to gather on Yavin 4 and defeat the ancient threat, and that will also coincide. Well, it will be the kickoff really for our greater guild event, which is called Summer of Love, which we do every year at this time. So we have little celebrations going on in all our games, but on July 27th we'll be in SWTOR.
Yes, we will, and that'll kick off that week. So there'll be a big blog post up on aie-guild.org explaining probably every day that whole week and 2 weekends. There'll be an event in one of our bigger MMOs, some sort of big event. And then the culmination, sort of the main annual event that's that week is focused around is going to be August 2nd, which is our Remembrance Day. We'll talk more about that in the next couple of weeks, but that's sort of a really special day for AIE. It applies to real world thinking about people we've lost over time. It was founded based on losing some guildies in real life. Way back in the early history of the guild. So we do a day to remember those people every year, and it's a really cool event. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to show up, and we'll talk about it more in the next couple weeks as we get up to the lead up. And last but certainly not least, last and best, shout out to the chat room. Thank you very much for coming and supporting the show. as we talk about episode 300 and as we get into next week, we started brainstorming on what do we want to do, and we thought, well, we could try to do something bigger. We could just forget about it, which is like what would probably happen. But too many
That's
people.
what we did for 100 and 200.
But too many people said you should do something. You should do something. So okay, we said, well, should we call up Eric and do an interview or something like that? And anytime we started to think hard about it and listen to the people that were asking us to do something about it, we realized what we really want to do is just have it focused on the guild and the chat room and the people that have been around, and focus on the game and what's gone on the last 5 years. Maybe what's been a guild thing and a game thing, and let's talk about that. Let's just that'll be episode 300. So we're not doing a big thing. We're not getting, we're not trying to get Bioware on the show. We're not doing anything like that. We are potentially going to get some guests. I think it might be, like some of our officers. We might cycle a couple of them in to have a couple other voices live on the show. But in the lead up, in the pre-show, from 8 to 9 p.m. Central on Starforge, we're going to have a little bit of a pre-show party. And while we're doing that and just hanging out and having a little dance party there on Nar Shaddaa, we're gonna ask people in general, just talk about what are some of your favorite moments of the game for the last 5 years, some guild stuff for the last 5 years, and we'll read off some of that stuff on the show too. And then at 9 p.m. Central, we will do the episode 300. We'll record it live a little bit earlier, so people that maybe can't stay up for it being so late usually on these Tuesday nights will be able to jump in. And as I said, maybe we'll have a couple other voices that we'll be able to pull in and do a mini interview or two as the evening goes on. So
Sir Galahard in the chat room wants to know if after episode 300 do we stop gaining episodes?
Then it's just episode 300 over and over again. we open the episode box and it's still episode 300 and it's still just a bunch of junk inside as always. Our news item will just be talking about Primeval Fate Sealers every week over and over again. Yep.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be. You got it.
Right, until Spoils of War.
Yes, until Spoils of War. And then it's going to reset to 1. And then it will be...
Yeah, level 230 schematics.
Well done. Well done. But with that, let me crack a little bit of this open.
Deep in the ancient, monster-infested tomb of Marka Ragnos, there is a holocron filled with dark secrets and encased in a great stone monument.
Why did I pick that drop-in to introduce our segment this week? Because what if you had a tactical ability that if anytime you shot lightning, a holocron might appear and crack open because you finally shot lightning the right way at it? I don't know. That's not one that they've talked about just yet, but they did talk about the Inquisitor and the Warrior. So that also counts for the mirror class and all the mirror abilities, but Inquisitor and Warrior all are posted up on the forums. They didn't post Juggernaut/Guardian yet, but they did post Marauder. For the Inquisitor, they posted Assassin and Sork. So not everything up there yet, but they posted a couple posts which talked about, for Inquisitor and for Warrior, a new ability, a bunch of set bonuses, and a bunch of tacticals. So that's what we're going to go through tonight. There's a little bit to unpack. We're a little bit fuzzy on some of this stuff. We'll talk about some of the challenges that we're even having, trying to figure out how to decide
to
if some of this
conceptualize
is
how that
good,
would
good
how
or
they
bad.
would work. Yeah.
I mean, what does it even mean?
We were hoping by now we would have had a chance to try them out on the PTS, but the PTS is not up yet.
There you go. So yeah, their intent was to get the PTS up relatively soon, and they need to do that because we need to be trying this stuff out, but they haven't done that yet. So
right, because their whole plan is to take these specific things, and if they roll out well, then to do all the rest. So yeah, they need to get going.
Right. Let's kick it off with Inquisitor, because I think we're a little bit more familiar with that. I play a DPS
Okay.
Sork all the time. You heal on a Sork,
Right.
so that's interesting.
Occasionally, yes.
Occasionally, one of the
Historically.
interesting things historically, one of the interesting things that they mentioned and they wanted to sort of call out is this idea of charges. And they said they're introducing new tech in Onslaught, although I've remembered a place that this is already in the game. But they explained it like this. We're introducing a new tech in Onslaught, which will allow abilities to have multiple charges, meaning you can use them more than once per charge, and the cooldown was simply add a charge up to the maximum. So they have this kind of this already in the game with the shoulder cannon for vanguards and commandos and power techs, and so it sort of works the same way. It'll charge up to 4 charges, and if you start using it, it'll still charge up the remaining charges, and once it's done charging, then it's done. But they sort of have this. They don't have it anywhere else, and this will probably display the charge on the ability, which will be useful. And it will allow them a little bit more flexibility, and I do like this idea. So let's talk about an example. Even the first one up is a set bonus they talk about. Force Slow now has 2 charges if you have this decelerate set bonus. Force Slow would have 2 charges. Using Force Slow on an enemy already in the effective Force slows them by an additional 20% and extends the duration. What this kind of charge thing does is allows you either to have use more of the ability over time, or front load and do a little bit of a burst. Use it in a little bit of a bursty way. And you see, in this case, they even said you could use force slow twice on an enemy and double slow them, kind of.
Yeah.
Being able to play with that, with different ways to use those kinds of charges. I want to just blast out all of my charges all at once, but then I obviously can't use any more charges for another 30 seconds. Versus, once every 5 seconds, I'm going to be hitting you with this thing throughout a fight. That's 2 different ways to use that kind of charge concept.
Right. Well, you obviously will use them right away and then go behind a bush and heal to full.
And then make them pay.
Right.
Which goes without saying.
Right.
A lot of other MMOs have this kind of, not every, but many other MMOs have this kind of charge thing. So I think it's useful, and it does provide some flexibility in how you're going to use those more reactively, how you're going to use these abilities, which is useful. So then you don't have necessarily all of a really set rotation. You can decide based situationally how you're going to want to use those charges, which is kind of cool. I do this with my shoulder cannon. I do this already with the shoulder cannon, because you could blast off with the shoulder cannon right away, and just use up all your charges right away in the rotation. However, shoulder cannon with a talent can give you the ability to heal a little bit just off that shoulder cannon. So depending on what I'm doing, if I'm already at full health, I might either wait or just slowly roll in the shoulder cannon ability, because I'll want to take a little bit more advantage of that tiny little bit of a heal. So it's not a huge difference, but it makes you think about it a little bit, which is kind of good to think, making us think.
The thing I like about these set bonuses is they reward the person who's a very good player, but they don't really punish the person who's just hitting buttons. Like if you're just out there doing your dailies like I do, and you don't take you don't use these perfectly, you're still going to win.
Right. Okay.
But if you're doing hard content and you play this stuff better, you'll do better.
Interesting. That's an interesting way to look at these kinds of things. And I'm kind of getting that now, just as I didn't have a ton of time to unpack these, and we didn't have an opportunity to go on the PTS and try them out. So what we're looking at here on the screen is is 4 set bonuses just for the Inquisitor in general, and we're going to look at more detailed set bonuses for the Sork and the Assassin separately in just a second. They said these are kind of in that 4-piece, 6-piece set bonus range. They didn't even put any of the 2-piece ones in. They're going to be less interesting by design. But yeah, I think you may be right, Seema, because it's, you're having to do a lot of thought and calculus to figure out how can I take best advantage of this and how is this going to fit in. It may give that opportunity for people at the top of their game who get the synergy between all of their abilities to really make use of these in optimal and interesting ways. So of these 4, Force Slow, Double Force Slow, nah. It sounds like a PvP ability to me and nothing more. Gyre, the Whirlwind is reduced. Cooldown of Whirlwind reduced by 10 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy before Whirlwind ends resets the cooldown on Whirlwind. That also sounds like either a PvP or a soloing ability to me. We're not going to use that in a boss fight.
When I read that one, well, no, but you might use it on trash. But I wonder what that means in terms of killing an enemy. It's like, is anybody in your team killed an enemy?
Killing an enemy.
But anyway, I like anything that resets. Anything that resets the cooldown of Whirlwind is going to be fun, right?
You're right. That's worded weirdly though. So if I Whirlwind, if I have a pack of 6 mobs, I Whirlwind one. I Whirlwind the first one on the left. I kill the first one on the right. I Whirlwind the second one on the left. I kill the second one on the right. Then can I Whirlwind a third one and keep had 3 of them Whirlwind?
I don't read that to mean that you could Whirlwind multiple ones unless you're. I just think it'll be up again if somebody breaks CC, which because like right now the way it is, if somebody breaks CC, you still can't cast it again for the full minute.
Right. How about this next one? Seething Power. Overload increases your damage reduction by 10% for 10 seconds. Getting attacked during this time because your next first force attack to hit critically. This effect can only occur once every 10 seconds.
That doesn't seem interesting to me because damage reductions in general doesn't seem that interesting.
Again, sort of PvP-ish, a little bit.
Yeah.
And Overload is used somewhat in PvP. I do not like using Overload in PvE, and I don't like incenting Overload in PvE. And we're going to see that again, I think, in the tactical list. Somebody in the forums suggested if you tie those things instead of Overload to like force speed, it's potentially a little more interesting. The problem with Overload in PvE is I'm in a flashpoint or I'm in an ops group, and even if I'm working on trash, if I've got people blasting the Overload and doing a bunch of knockbacks, they're knocking them away from the tank, they're knocking them out of the AoE. It just slows things down. It doesn't help anything. So stop knocking things back. Even tonight, people weren't meaning it, and it wasn't that big a problem. But we're killing rat ghouls. We've got like 4 gunslingers for whatever reason. They all drop these massive AoEs, and then somebody does a knockback and blasts the 4 rat ghouls out of the AoE, and they would have been dead like 10 minutes ago if you hadn't done that. So
I do like this last one though. I like the idea of extending electrocute stun. I mean, I guess there's kind of a theme. I like the ones that give me more power over the situation, like making Whirlwind come off cooldown faster.
As long as
making stuns last longer.
I'm not going to get force choked for an additional 2 seconds. If that happens, I am so going to rage quit. Criminy. All right, let's look at more detail. Let's look at the Sork. Let's dive in. Hold on just a sec here. Am I going to log out of the game? You are no longer away from keyboard. Okay. So then they did ability, tactical item, and set bonus for the Sork and for the Assassin. So those are the first ones that came out, and this came out about a week and a half ago. New ability, then some specific set bonuses for the SORC, and then the technical items. So let's break this apart for just a second. And then we're probably just going to have to gloss over the warrior anyway, because we understand it a little bit less as well. So the new ability is a damage ability. Deals energy damage to your target and energizes you for up to 5 seconds. The energize effect can stack twice, with each stack increasing Volt Rush damage, that's the name of the ability, increasing the ability's damage by 30%. So potentially up to 60%. The ability has 3 charges and a recharge timer of 10 seconds. So once every 10 seconds, you could be casting this. You could also front load and blast out 3 all at once. And then this puts a little bit of an energized stack on you, with each stack increasing the damage of the previous, of this ability each time you cast it again. But the energize only lasts 5 seconds. So how could you stretch that out? So it can stack twice. So I can go 5 seconds. I can hit it again. And the recharge timer is 10 seconds. So I could go 5 seconds. So I could go like 4.5 seconds, hit it again. And now I'm at like 9 seconds.
See, this is where it would be nice to just try it out.
So yeah, does the 4.5 seconds reset the stack of the 2 charges, or does one of the charges fall off then at the 5th second, but the second charge stays on? I don't know. Or does it go up to 2 then, and then stay on, and then at 9.5 seconds, I could hit it again, and then are both of the stacks going to fall off at once, or... Yeah, see? That we'd have to sort of see that in action. The other thing is this idea of the energize. Energize now, as we get down into, I think specifically in the tacticals, they also use this energize, and they synergize with the energize. And that's going to get complicated, as we'll see in just a second. All right, so...
Especially with that short duration. But yes.
Yeah, especially with that short duration of only 5 seconds. You're going to have to, like, tie it close in your rotation. So this is SORC. So we'll have to see how much energy damage it does. And that's one of the discussions in the thread if you read it. And I agree. If it doesn't do any more energy damage than, me just casting lightning or me casting shock or something like that, then why would I ever use it? So
right.
It has to be valuable enough in terms of damage for me to sacrifice something else, to have it as a higher priority, to be able to want to use it in my rotation. And then I'm going to have to think about how these stacks affect its rotation. And then I will have to look at the other abilities that build on top of it and think if that synergy is enough to push it over the edge. So it's really going to walk a line depending on how much of energy damage it does. How about for a healer? So I guess we'll look at what it synergizes with, but this whole idea of here's a DPS ability and you have to like be DPSing the boss now to make your heals heal more. I mean, what do you think of that just right off the top?
Well, I don't think they mean it to work that way, but yes, I don't really want to. I actually do cast at the boss, but only when I don't have anything else more pressing to do, and I have the resources to spare, which is usually always.
So let's just jump right down because this is sort of the example I was thinking of.
But before we leave this tactical, I mean, it is. I mean, it could come in handy because, like, what I personally don't like to do, I like to go out and do my dailies in my spec. I don't want to change specs because I don't want to change buttons every time. So I don't mind for the world content having a little bit more DPS. I realize that this by itself doesn't give me a lot in ops, but I mean, it's still good to have something out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right, which you're going to need to do. You're going to need to do. Sorry, I was responding to Zen in the chat room who was saying that overload should only be used for pushing things off of cliffs or players into acid.
Yes.
And my response to Zen is, and I invented this last week for you, Zen, you want the tactical item that allows you to use overload on your friends, don't you?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That's what you want, Zen. I know it. I already know it. I designed that tactical for you. You'll be able to use overload on your friends, and you'll be able to use extricate while you're falling off cliffs as well. and you and all will be right with the world as all of your friends die. All right, so but this Volt Rush ability synergizing with healing abilities, there's one tactical that they added in. So just jumping down, we'll go back up, but this tactical item. Now, so remember, tactical items are items that you'll slot. You get one of them to pick, and this, in theory, is a game changer. And I can kind of see it with this one, although I don't know if it's how I want the game to be changed in this particular case. So Healing Volt Tactical says damaging an enemy with Volt Rush. So this is cast Volt Rush, causes your ally closest to the enemy to be healed, scaling with how many energized stacks are on the enemy. So that's also worded weirdly. What if 3 people are casting energized stacks on the enemy? Is it only your stacks on the enemy, for one? For two, this seems to be designed for encouraging this kind of healer, this healer that casts damage at the boss or at the enemy players in PvP in order to synergize with a little bit of extra healing going off to the side.
Right. I guess in the end, it depends on how much healing.
How much healing and how much
Because
damage.
Yeah, because like you said, if it's not better than doing something else with your force and your time and your global cooldown, then we won't use it.
Right. All right, so going back up, set bonuses. Here were the more specific set bonuses that, again, are Sorc specific. So Energized Overload. Overload energizes you, and Volt Rush deals more damage when you are under the energized effect. Energize can stack twice. So this seems like a way, like if you cast Overload and then a Volt Rush, then the next 2 Volt Rushes, because you could have 3 charges, are already at that 60% extra damage to Volt Rush. So you could use Overlord
New Overlord.
to pre-stack and energize on you. Okay. Gathering Storm, activating Force Speed, reduces the cooldown of Polarity Shift by 5 seconds. Using Polarity Shift immediately after extends its duration, which I didn't really get. What is its duration? Force Speed's duration? So if I like Force Speeded and then I used Polarity Shift while I was Force Speeding, it would extend.
No, I read it to mean that
it would extend Polarity Shift's duration.
Yeah.
But Polarity Shift has a shorter duration than its cooldown, and reducing the cooldown by 5 seconds. So I didn't get that. Polarity Shift is like 10 seconds with a 60-second cooldown. So what extends what's duration? I didn't get that. And then the other thing was, so this one I was sort of mad on because I'm not perfect in using my Polarity Shift optimal anyway. So maybe if you're perfect in using your Polarity Shift optimally, then reducing the cooldown on Polarity Shift will give you that Polarity Shift is a boost ability. So Polarity Shift boosts your next 1 or 2 casts of the other things that you're casting. So it's not even like saying you're going to crit. It's not like a guaranteed crit or I forgot exactly what Polarity Shift does.
I mean, I think it's like choosing trinkets and everything else. If it doesn't, like I personally don't use Polarity Shift. Like you were saying, I don't use it in an expert way. So maybe this wouldn't be the set bonus I would go for.
Right.
Because it doesn't match my play style.
It sounds to me like if you do the math, it's going to come out to like a 0.2% DPS increase if you're perfectly using Force Speed to reduce your Polarity Shift and using Polarity Shift perfectly. If it's more than more than a 0.2% DPS increase, I'd be surprised.
Whereas the other one, dark consumption, is it's kind of beautiful in its symmetry.
So you
So basically,
explain these two, because these next two are healer ones.
yeah. So basically, what this one says is if you use consumption when you don't have the stacks to support it, you get a debuff that reduces your force regen. What this is saying is you could then immediately cast Dark Heal to remove that stack, and Dark Heal is a small heal that's channeled or it can be instant too, depending on procs. So basically, what you could do is if you were in a situation, you could get some force back in a way that you might not do, but then you could fix it with Dark Heal. So it's kind of a circle. So that seems like something that's easy to understand and something that you could use.
Right. And could you, if your heal style puts you in the place of running out of mana on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
then you're using that consumption or whatever. Yeah, that seems like the opportunity to sort of change the style of how you heal in an interesting way.
And then the other one, Revitalize, is basically saying that if you have your hot, which is resurgence, active on a target when you heal them, they get extra healing from resurgence, which seems pretty easy to roll into your gameplay as well.
Right. Although that one to me sounds like, this one sounds like, in my mind, it wouldn't change the way I play. My heals, my hot would just be a little bit stronger.
I guess that's what I meant by it would be easy to roll it into your gameplay.
Right. And in theory, the set bonuses aren't supposed to be game changers, but and that's what they're. I think they're trying to make the tacticals the game changers and the set bonuses the in strongeners.
But I mean, as opposed to the first one, Energized Overload, which you couldn't take advantage of at all unless you regularly use Overload, which a lot of healers do. But you would have to change your gameplay to use it if you were not in the habit of using Overload.
And then Overload, healers use Overload because you can talent it to add healing to it, but then it's just going to add damage to Volt Rush, which a healer won't really care about. And then DPS don't use Overload. I don't use Overload in my Sork rotation, in my Madness rotation. I'll use it in PvP situationally if I want to knock players back, but it's not a damage. It doesn't take a place in the damage rotation. Again, so unless Volt Rush is really awesome and pre-stacking that Energize effect, and then then that's really weird.
But I mean, it's going to be interesting because like maybe when you say things like that, we're just looking at it the wrong way. Maybe we should only look at it as how can we play and how can these enhance our sense of gameplay and how can we make things a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah.
Not so much what's going to be the perfect rotation using these things.
Right. So let's finish by talking about at least these first two sets of tacticals, because in theory this should be game changer kind of things. So they did 4 for Sork, they did 4 for Corruption, and they did 4 for, well, they said Sork, I think they meant Madness. 4 for Madness, 4 for Corruption, 4 for Lightning. No, Lightning meant Sork. Oh, 4 for Sork in general. 4 for Corruption, 4 for Lightning, 4 for Madness. Okay, so let's just talk about a couple of them. Let's skip over the Lightning ones because I don't play Lightning all that as much. And so in theory, at least some of these should be game changers. So do you want to start with the Corruption ones, and then we'll pick and choose out of the Sork and Madness ones to look at too?
So it's interesting because the first two, one's called All for One and one's called One for All. your AoE heal, the big AoE Sork heal revivification, will heal more for each ally it affects if you select all for one. If you use one for all, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It heals more the fewer allies it affects. So I guess one way you could look at that is you would take one for ops and one for flashpoints and uprisings, or one for ops and one for PvP.
Maybe, right? Depending on. So it seems situational to make you slightly stronger rather than, or I guess situationally you could be trying to cast it on like a smaller group of people that rather than a larger group of people, like cast it on just the two tanks and try to make sure it doesn't hit the melee DPS standing way behind the boss, or cast
it on the sniper or the gunslinger that's standing as far away from everyone else as they possibly can.
Yeah. And then this next one is even worse, I think, in terms of game changing, or even less interesting in terms of game changing, which is
right. Extra men, roaming men can now heal up to 5 targets instead of 4. That's like not game changing at all. I mean, you wouldn't change anything in your gameplay for that,
right.
because it would just happen.
Yeah, and yeah, just a little bit of extra healing would go out that to a person that may or may not even need it. How about the last one? So this is the
one,
one. Yeah,
yeah, healing bolts. Basically, what it says is if you damage an enemy with Bolt Rush, which is the new ability, the enemy that you damage, whichever of your team is closest to that enemy, will receive some healing, scaled with how many energized stacks are on the enemy. So, unless that was like a lot of healing, why wouldn't you just heal
right
the person?
This is the only one to me that does seem sort of
the other side of it is like, say you wanted to do damage because it was a DPS race and it was going to come down to the wire. Well, then does your team member even need healing then?
Right. And then is healing bolts the right ability you would cast to do the right amount of damage because you're down to the wire?
Yeah.
So
that's the kind of thing where we just have to find out.
Yeah. But this one does have I think this is the one that has the clearest opportunity to be a game changer, because you could then, in your mind, put yourself in the situation where you do want to be shooting out that Volt Rush and doing a little bit of damage here and there.
But to me, a game changer would be Revivification becomes a DPS AoE and a healing AoE. You know, like you put it down, you damage everyone, you know, all the targets, and you heal all your friends. That would be awesome. Aside from, as opposed to having this, which is a different, I don't know.
Yeah. So, did they get as far as the idea of game changing in that? Not completely at least in the first few, maybe in the last one. We'll have to see. As you said, we'll have to try it. So then in Madness, they stretched a little bit as well. Exhaustion field, death field does 10% more damage to all target and spreads force slow effects. Interesting. And as a trade-off, so I think that could be pretty powerful in PvP.
Yeah.
Not anywhere else besides PvP, but in PvP, if you want to be spreading that force slow and you're set up for it and your team is expecting it to have, now you'd still have to preload your dots and preload a force slow, which means you're going through at least 3 global cooldowns before you're popping your death field.
Before you cast your death field
on your 4th global cooldown. And by that 4th global cooldown, if you're not globaled, which means all the other DPS on the other team have now already killed you, that's a long time to wait to get that force slow dot spread. And then are they going to be all stacked up by that point? And are you going to be delaying your death field because you're trying to wait till they get grouped back up again because it's been 4 seconds?
When I read something like this, it makes me think, what encounter are they planning where we're going to want to slow all the ads,
Mm,
which is a very irresponsible, speculative thing for me to say.
right.
But it did make me think of it like a fight where there's ads that are like radiating out. No, there's ads coming in, and if they get to the boss, they're going to heal him or something.
Well, you could think of like the Styrak fight. We've got those 4 ads, but Deathfield would never hit
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Deathfield's not going to spread Force slow to them. Deathfield could only hit one
No.
of them at the start of the fight. So unless
Yeah.
it spread Force slow to everybody in the room, which it won't. So it would have to be starting in the middle and radiating out. Ruthless Demolition. Demolition deals 20% more damage on an initial hit. Additionally, under Polarity Shift, Demolish deals 20% more damage. Demolish resets the cooldown of Force Leech and causes the Force Leech to activate instantly. So a little bit extra bursty, a little bit more use of Force Leech. Not bad.
I like an instant Force Leech.
And it does, but I think it's only going to slightly modify the rotation and be potentially a nice little boost, but not game changer. Just slightly accelerate the rotation or change up the rotation just slightly. Because you still, Force Leech is still part of the rotation. Demolish is still part of the rotation. You're not going to not take those out. You might put them closer together. So I don't know. Writhing Terror. Creeping Terror has a 10% chance to tick an additional time whenever Force Lightning deals damage. Meh. I mean, dots, slightly more powerful dots. Because you have Creeping Terror up. You're trying to keep Creeping Terror up 100% of the time anyway, and you're doing Force Lightning as a filler. So Creeping Terror ticking an additional time while you're doing Force Lightning. This is one of those ones that you would not change your rotation one bit. You would not notice it one bit. Your DPS at the end of the fight, when you look back, would be that 1% higher or whatever, that 0.5% higher than it was without this slotted. And then Wrath Rushdown. When Force Lightning generates 4 stack of Wrath, you gain Wrath Rush, allowing your next 3 Volt Rushes to deal 25% more damage and costs 50% less force. Volt Rush consumes all stacks of Wrath. So this one is potentially rotation changing, again, because I didn't factor in, even in talking about those other ones, Volt Rush may end up being part of the Madness rotation in DPS on boss fights. We don't know for sure. If Volt Rush damage sucks, then it's not going to be. And then if this makes it powerful, then will it only be if you've slotted Wrath Rushdown? So that kind of synergy between the new ability and the tactical and the balance of where it hits to say, is Volt Rush even going to be part of the rotation with or without this? And if it is, does this make it super more powerful? So then you up the priority of Volt Rush in your rotation. Makes it complicated. So yeah, this is hard. And so now here, we've been talking for an hour. We've gone through all these. We haven't even gotten to the Warrior Marauder, and it's probably good that we haven't, because what I would have done was, I sort of did this in chat. I was asking people, is this useful to you? Because I play a Marauder.
I don't know.
But I don't know all the names of every ability. I'd have to match it with all the names and look at the optimal rotation, because I don't play it enough to know the optimal rotation to say, if you're Fury Spect, then the detonate Raging Burst detonates Force Crush, dealing damages, slowing enemies in area around the primary. How often do I what's Raging Burst? And why does Raging Burst detonate Force Crush? And what does detonate mean? And do I care about either of those things?
All those things sound really cool, though. I definitely want to detonate things.
I want to detonate my Force Crush. Yes. So Marcus said, Marcus liked this one under Carnage. Always ferocious. Ferocity is active all the time, but only grants 50% armor penetration. I don't know. He said that looked interesting.
I mean, I kind of like that. The AoE on Sorkin Sage is, you can use it all the time, It doesn't do as much damage as Death from Above and Mortar Volley, but you don't have to wait.
I think it's a thing where it's going to have to be like theory crafted out. Like this only grants 50% armor penetration. So if you do the math, and ferocity being active all the time only grants 50% armor penetration. So it's a decrease in armor pen, it's an increase in the ferocity buff. So if you take the average boss fight and you you do the math on both of those and you come out as exactly the same, the increase of ferocity equals the decrease in armor pen, then this is useless. So in theory, 50% armor pen needs to be less of a of a of a decrease in DPS than the ferocity is an increase, right?
So basically, for us, it seems like for the ones that we can at least kind of imagine, they don't seem like they're game changers.
Yeah, all of this is less of a game changer than some of the things I was thinking,
than we had hoped for.
Which was, didn't they have one of them in here which did something with force camouflage? If you did something where activating predation finishes the cooldown on force camouflage. If you did a thing where every time you went into stealth, if you slotted this thing and you had, if you slotted this tactical ability, every time you went into stealth as a assassin or as a, using force camouflage as a marauder, it did something really big and important, which caused you to want to be stealthing as often as possible. So what you ended up having is when somebody had that tactical slotted, they were basically like blinking in and out of the fight as often as they could. To me, that would be game changing. Then you would like have these blinky marauders in your PvE fights, and you would see like if you got into a pug group, you would see that blinky marauder blinking on and off over there, and you would know what tactical they've slotted and how they're playing their class. And they've now changed their game.
Right.
Now, I don't know if anything is that far where it would be this really recognizable change to their game. So we'll have to see. But I think this is where we're going to stop for tonight. This is also where they've stopped for now in terms of the tacticals that they've introduced and the set bonuses that they've introduced. They do plan, and they've talked about this in the live stream, they do plan to go farther with both tacticals and set bonuses and maybe get wilder and weirder as they expand. How they're going to balance it and where that's going to go and where that's all going to end up, that's going to be an adventure in and of itself. But this is where they're at right now. Right now, I think we need it on the PTS, and we'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Any
closing comments, Seema? Are you like Marcus? Are you super excited?
I have difficulty conceptualizing how it'll affect me when it's just words. So I have to try it out before I am going to like it or dislike it, really.
Yeah. So we're going to have to try it. I think so.
Yeah.
That's our major conclusion is we're going to have to try it and let the theory crafters do some math and tell us if it sucks or if it's good.
Right. Yes. Let us know.
Okay. Before I close out the show, reminder, next week on the 9th, we are going to have episode 300. We're going to start at 8 p.m. on Nar Shaddaa in the Slippery Slopes Cantina. At least that's the plan so far. For a pre-show party from about 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central. And it's open to everybody that can get a character to Nar Shaddaa on Starforge. We'd love to have everybody there. Everybody's just to stop in and say hi. And we'll be asking people on and off throughout that first hour what were any of your favorite parts of the game for the last 5 years, and either the podcast or our guild AIE, if they have any favorites of things out of those for the past 5 years as well. We'll try to collect a bunch of those to read off as part of the show. And then from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, about that time range, we will be doing the show, episode 300. We'll probably pull in a couple AIE leaders to do a little bit of that Q&A with them live, and that'll be our episode 300. So hopefully you can join us. If you don't join us live, it'll be up in all the places. And as always, to keep an eye out for us and those episodes, follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. Keep up with us on YouTube /New Overlords. Certainly subscribe there, and you'll see the videos as soon as they come out. I at least, am on Instagram at New Overlords on Instagram. I'm posting a little bit of some screenshots of the game once in a while. I've just started this, and the episodes when they go live, when they get published out on the feeds, I'm putting that on the Instas as well. Follow me on Insta. I need more Insta followers. So I'm not talking to the same 3 people all the time. And check us out on Starforge. AIE-guild.org is where you can find our Discord. That's where you can get in and join us in Discord next week. And you can find all of the info about our guild on AIE-guild.org. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.